and Klitschko is a decorated champion. You know, what's the motivating factor for him in this fight against Kevin Johnson?
Well, you know, what he needs to do is dominate Kevin Johnson, and really most of his fights he's been dominating, winning every round. Well, what I would like him to do is knock out these guys. We don't want him to batter a guy for 12 rounds. So, you know, and continue his domination with his brother for the heavyweight championships of the world.
All right, let's turn our attention back to Max Kellerman. And Max, you know, for Klitschko, it's been great for him since he's come back. This will be the third defense of his title against a guy who's really untested in Kevin Johnson.
He is, and what's at stake for Kevin Johnson, because no one expects the Klitschko brothers, I think least of all at this moment, Vitali, to actually lose a fight. What's at stake is simply what's his stock going to be coming out of this fight. All he really has to do is better than expected, since he's not expected to win, and he comes out with increased value in the boxing marketplace.
All right, now, when we started the program off tonight, we talked about the 140-pound weight class before our main event, when we got the evening started before the Ortiz fight. The heavyweight picture is 180 degrees opposite.
Yeah, remember how awesome the junior welterweights were? This is the opposite of that. The Klitschko brothers are the champion, the two-headed champion. David Haye is a belt holder. You want to be champ, you got to beat the two Klitschko brothers, then you're the heavyweight champ. Here are the other contenders. Coming right up, the other contenders, there we go. Chris Arreola, having lost to Vitali Klitschko, still an exciting fighter. Kevin Johnson, undefeated heading into this Klitschko fight. Eddie Chambers only lost to Povetkin, who's a very good fighter, has a shot coming up at Vladimir Klitschko. Tomas Adamek, the lineal cruiserweight champion of the world, moved up, beat up Andrew Galata, who's obviously towards the end, we hope. And Boystov is a good, undersized boxer-puncher in the heavyweight division, also undefeated, as you can see.
All right, let's take a look at the tail of the tape for Vitali Klitschko and Kevin Johnson. Klitschko at 38 years of age. He has a 3-inch height advantage. He's got a 3-inch arm length advantage measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. Weighed in at 247 pounds to Johnson's 242 and a half. Time for the rules with Harold Letterman.
The Vitali Klitschko Kevin Johnson fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the rules of the World Boxing Council. There is no 3-knockdown rule. Only the referee can start the fight. We'll give you the official scores at the end of rounds 4 and 8, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 12th and final round. Bob!
All right, Harold, a glamorous atmosphere in Bern, Switzerland, as Vitali Klitschko puts his championship on the line against Kevin Johnson. Here's how we called it from earlier today. So we're underway with Kevin Johnson and Vitali Klitschko as Klitschko puts his heavyweight championship on the line. Johnson has said he's never been hurt in a fight. We'll see how he handles the power of Klitschko. Johnson coming off a May win against Devin Vargas in New Jersey. Klitschko back in September took care of Chris Arreola. Alex, what do you make of Johnson's sort of posture right now against the bigger, taller Klitschko?
Well, he's elected to take his time and stay on the outside and maybe try and work his way in. But, you know, this is the first round. They're both getting used to each other, because going in against a big guy, not really realizing his size until you get in there and actually throw punches and test them out, you don't know until you get in there. So right now, you know, Vitali Klitschko, it looks like he's just taking his position. It looks like he's trying to line up Kevin Johnson with that left hook and the right hand right now, but he's not doing too much but walking him down, keeping that left hand out in front.
See the three judges that will score this fight. Right hand by Klitschko. Kenny Bayless from the United States, the referee.
I don't understand Kevin Johnson keeping his left hand down so far, because of the fact that, you know, Vitali has a good straight right, and he doesn't want to get hit by that too much.
Kevin Johnson, very comfortable on the ropes, has made a habit of it through his professional career, counter-punching off the ropes. He has a good, fast jab, and his reach, even though he's a shorter man, may be a little better his actual jabbing reach than Klitschko's. It's a huge step up in class for Johnson. Klitschko touched him with a left-hand jab. Klitschko really not, Lennox, at this point, taking advantage of a very passive stance by Johnson.
Well, you know, he doesn't know what to really expect, and he's taking his time. Doesn't want to really commit himself too much. As you can see, he stands up high and tall, so that's his advantage right now. Now, I know sometimes he usually sticks that jab out there and sticks his head in there, but he's keeping his head nice and straight, trying to work that jab.
Flips a right hand in over the top. Johnson short with a jab.
Kevin Johnson looks really comfortable in there. He's taking his time. You know, he's not getting hit too much. One thing he's doing is laying against the ropes. I don't really like that, but, you know, he's not getting hit right now.
It might seem as though Vitali Klitschko is waiting for Kevin Johnson to come out of his defensive shell. But I think that's equally true of Kevin Johnson waiting for Vitali Klitschko to come out of his shell a little. Klitschko's so tall and leans back that he's difficult to reach even with Kevin Johnson's jab.
Klitschko not able to square up any punches so far on Johnson. Tapped him to the body in a very nondescript round one. Post Finance Arena in Bern, Switzerland. To the corner of Kevin Johnson.
And here you see Klitschko's early aggression. He's, you know, he's in punching range right now. He's not really doing too much, just trying to get in that left jab. You know, there's not too much power behind those punches. Most of those punches are arm punches.
We're going to have to. So I want you motherfuckers to sit up now. Right? And stay focused. Yes.
I'm good. Trust me.
Charles Dewdrop Young, the trainer for Kevin Johnson, the kingpin. So Vitali Klitschko and Kevin Johnson get underway with round number 2 after a very slow-paced first round.
Again, Vitali's powering with that left jab. A little too close to him. He should be throwing that right hand before getting that close, but he's not throwing it. He's elected just to throw that left jab and trying to come across with that left hook. But he's throwing a lot of feints right now.
Klitschko tries to get that long right hand in there.
See, this is where Kevin Johnson needs to take advantage of that. Anytime Klitschko throws that straight right, there's not too much power behind it, but once he misses, he's got to let him pay for that.
Yeah, Kevin Johnson's got to get a little busier, because if this fight goes rounds, these early rounds that he's losing without much happening are 10-9 rounds, just like later rounds that one or the other of the fighters could win big.
Klitschko threw in a good body shot, got a right hand in against Johnson. Lennox, if you're Vitali Klitschko and you see a guy that's got his left hand low like this, really not looking to do much and wait for you, what would you do if you're Vitali Klitschko?
Well, if I was Vitali Klitschko, I would try and work a combination, obviously ending off with a right hand, knowing that, you know, that's where he's got open. So, you know, punch him other places, and then my last accent punch would probably be a right hand. But he's not throwing that. He's not looking for that opening right now. He's just looking to get that jab in. He's pretty tentative about his punches, and he's really sparingly. He should even throw some hooks. But right now he's just throwing straight punches.
It looks like Klitschko, these early rounds are dress rehearsals for the later rounds for Klitschko, in that he's throwing the right hand to see how he can land it without much force, but just to see what's available to him.
Put a little power behind the last right hand that Johnson was able to dip away from. Johnson again shoots that left hand to the body. That's about all he's really done.
Vitali doesn't have a range of punches. Most of his punches are straight, trying to throw a left hook in there and a right hand. But as far as body punches are concerned, you know, he's a real big guy. Big guys don't really love bending down and punching to the body too much. But I think some body punches will help him.
See the CompuBox numbers to this point. Johnson really hasn't thrown much of anything. Nice combination there by Klitschko. Johnson says, bring some more. Tries to work his own jab here. with 10 seconds to go in the second round. There's that hook from Klitschko. Got one of them in. End of round number 2. A little bit better pace, but another strong round for Klitschko against the inactive Johnson.
And you see a Klitschko left, double left actually, pretty sparingly with his punches, overhand right. This is where Kevin Johnson needs to take that advantage, because when Klitschko comes across with that right hand, his whole body's forward, and he has to really step back around and get back on balance.
Looking like a matador. Unfortunately, we haven't had a running of the bulls from either guy, although Klitschko has controlled things as we start round number 3.
Kevin Johnson's trying to entice Klitschko to get a little wild, to take more chances. Problem is, Johnson's not a big puncher, and he's already put himself in a position where he likely needs to win 7 of the next 10 rounds to win on points.
The way out Klitschko's throwing that right hand is really not a lot of power behind it. You know, I would bet that he has shoulder problems, because the way it's not really coming across as vigorous as it should be coming. It's really just being put out there and scoring points.
So Lennox, if you have something that's bothering you and something's not 100%, what should Klitschko be doing to sort of offset that?
Well, should be more offsetting it by throwing more jabs, more hooks, working that left hand a little bit more, and allowing his opponent, Kevin Johnson, to forget about his right hand and then try and place it in there. You see the way that right hand's coming across? It's not even turning over, it's just being placed there.
You see how difficult Vitali is to reach with a jab. Johnson with a quick jab and a long reach through 2 that hit air.
Johnson needs to be taking a step in every time he throws that jab, because he has to realize Vitali's tall, long, he stays back on that back foot, and he's looking to get out. Anytime Johnson wages any kind of attack, he's got that back foot ready to step out.
Johnson tries to counter with that right hand, did not find the mark he was looking for. What's the method behind Johnson's madness at this point, Lennox?
Well, you know, it could be a rope-a-dope trying to get Klitschko to throw that right hand so he can seize that opportunity, but he needs to be doing a little bit more, not really holding back as much as he's holding back. I don't really see Johnson trying to counterpunch too much like he should be. Maybe he's trying to tire Vitali out. Vitali's got his mouth open a bit, so maybe he could be a little tired.
It's a chance of a lifetime, a guy who is really stepping up in class and a chance to compete for a world championship. And pretty much through 3 rounds, he's not doing much.
Johnson is a primarily defensively oriented fighter. And here in his first big fight against a big, strong guy, it's understandable he might not start fast offensively. He might want to see what's in front of him and kind of shake the nerves of the early rounds. He does seem to be getting a little more active here.
I mean, the main thing for Johnson, not to be standing still. He should be moving and not making himself such an easy target. Laying against the ropes is the wrong thing to do.
Johnson tried to double up the jab, miss with both at the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah, we'll see a couple right hands by Klitschko here. And this is Johnson countering. Very effective punch. He should counter not only with 1 hand, but 2. Throw that right hand and maybe a hook after.
one of the cleaner punches that Johnson's been able to land. You saw Klitschko kind of react a little as he touched his face. There's a little swelling under the left eye of Klitschko. One of those right hands got him as we begin round number 4 in the scheduled 12-rounder. Vitali Klitschko and Kevin Johnson. Harold Letterman, how do you see it so far?
Okay, Bob. Very one-sided fight. 3-0. 30-27. Dr. Iron Fist, Vitali Klitschko. You know, Bob, Kevin Johnson's doing his usual thing, laying on the ropes, you know, giving you a lot of motions. But, I mean, Vitali just keeps touching him with that left jab. Sometimes he throws a left hook like he did there, and he drops the right hand down on him. I mean, he's landing all the scoring punches. Interestingly enough, we'll see how the official judges have it at the end of rounds 4 and 8. So we'll find out if they agree with me at the end of this round. 3-0 Klitschko.
Kevin Johnson has good head movement right now. And this is what I'm saying. When you stand in one position, at least keep your head movement. He's doing a good job at that. I think he's doing a good job right now of not getting hit. And remember that this fight's 12 rounds, so maybe he's not waged his attack right now. He's saving all the energy for the later rounds where he may come out with some terrific punches.
Kevin Johnson's attack, obviously everything comes off the jab, and though he's committed to it, you can see he's finding it really difficult to actually land. They hit air. Even when he doubles up on the jab, they're hitting air. He may be well advised to start throwing that jab to Klitschko's body more often.
And, you know, you're right, Max. He throws one jab. If he throw 2, he would definitely get in there. Or even sometimes to the back. He needs to mix up his punches a little bit better.
Max, you think that Johnson's awkwardness and that head movement that you've talked about, do you think he's frustrating Klitschko a little bit, that this fight's not maybe as easy as he might have thought?
A little bit. You know, both of them have differences, and they need to get used to them. Kevin Johnson's getting used to the size of Klitschko, the awkwardness of Klitschko, and like I said, keeps that lean. He leans back all the time, which makes it really hard for him to hit. Sometimes you think he's there, and then when you punch, he's not, because he's leaned out of the way.
Notice there, Kevin Johnson threw the jab to the body, and Klitschko, not only did it land, Klitschko was forced to reset in the middle of the ring.
Johnson's done a good job of sort of turning inside, getting into that shell and avoiding those right hands from Klitschko. Tries to counter with a right hand. Continues to jaw a little bit.
See, Klitschko better be concerned, because any one of those jabs that Johnson's flicking out there is a jab that could hurt him and even cause some damage, a cut or something.
Look at Johnson, come and get it. He's actually taunting a guy who's beating him. Right hand from Klitschko. End of round 4. Starting December 26th, HBO Sports brings you our Best of Boxing 2009. 6 memorable fights of the past year. Up first, Floyd Mayweather's tactical mastery over Juan Manuel Marquez in September, and Shane Mosley's shocking destruction of Antonio Margarito. On Thursday, December 31st, we're proud to bring back Rebels with a Cause, the story of the American Football League. This film takes a look back at how the AFL got its improbable start.
As you can see, a little nick over Vitali's eye. He's got to be careful. There's at least 6 more rounds to go.
You know, he was pawing at his left eye earlier, and now he's got that swelling over the right eye as we get set for the start of round 5.
So some of those jabs from Kevin Johnson must be landing to the head.
Yeah, because we haven't really seen them come together where there'd be a clash of heads. So round number 5 underway. That was about a 90-second break in between rounds 4 and 5. Supposed to be 1 minute. Klitschko with a right hand.
See Kevin Johnson's cockiness, his belief in himself. Sometimes as fighters you get the sense they're trying to convince themselves. And maybe there's an element of that with Kevin Johnson. But it seems to me it's serving him well here. It's unsettling Vitali a little, and it makes Kevin Johnson a more live underdog at this stage in the fight than another fighter might be, without that sense of self that Kevin Johnson seems to have.
Yeah, we did not hear the open scores. They might have had maybe that's one of the reasons we had the delay between rounds 4 and 5. Because there is open scoring here. Right hand by Klitschko. Max, to follow up on your point though, maybe it will serve him well. Johnson's not a big puncher against much lesser competition. He only has 9 knockouts in his 23 fights. Now he may frustrate Klitschko and maybe he'll win the last couple rounds, but he's got to be falling behind big on the scorecard.
Well, I mean, if he loses this round, he'd have to sweep every round to win a decision, unless there are knockdowns. There is, however, something developing on Klitschko's right eye, and Johnson does have a dangerous jab. He's also developed into a more complete fighter in recent fights. He didn't have much of an amateur career, Kevin Johnson, and he's been learning on the job in the pros. But he has been learning.
Just 15 amateur fights on his resume. Got introduced to Larry Holmes by former NBA star Darryl Dawkins, and he worked in Holmes' Eastern Pennsylvania gym for a couple of months. They got him to 3-0 as a pro. Now he's with Charles Dewdrop Young.
Vitali's using up a lot of energy with some extra body movement. You know, that could affect him in the later rounds. Kevin Johnson's still relaxed, taking his time, conserving a lot of energy, not getting hit, which is the main thing. Vitali trying to place that right hand, trying to find a spot for it. Kevin Johnson's moving his head radically and, you know, doing a good job at it.
Klitschko doubles up the jab, tries to chop that right hand, and that's the way round 5 comes to an end.
I sense a level of concern here from Vitali Klitschko that I haven't seen from him in many fights.
Well, the concern is, you know, the longer this fight goes on, the bigger chance he's taking by making Kevin Johnson stay around and being able to hurt him and cut his eye even more.
Because Lennox, you're right, he's not throwing the right hand hard, and it's conjecture, but if there's a problem with the shoulder and now a problem with the eye, and he's in with a confident young fighter, it's going to be interesting to see how this develops into the later rounds.
Yeah, you got to go back to November the 24th of 2000, the last time a Vitali Klitschko fight went the distance. In Germany, Timo Hoffmann lost a 12-round decision. Now remember, he had almost a 4-year layoff in this decade. But so far, Johnson's awkward style is causing Klitschko at least pause.
Johnson, however studied he is obviously also a natural defensive fighter. Not a natural offensive fighter. So as Lennox says, he makes Vitali miss, gets him out of position, and then doesn't make him pay.
Or even go after the eye. You know, he needs to be throwing a lot more punches up at Vitali's face, trying to get that eye open.
Again, Klitschko trying to laser in with that right hand. Tries one of those Joe Frazier jumping in hooks.
When Vitali Klitschko lost to Chris Bird, the fight was not dissimilar to this early. Vitali was winning, and then he hurt his shoulder, and Chris Bird started coming on a little bit, and he quit in that fight. Since then, he's quieted any talk of his heart, especially in his fight against Lennox. But that wasn't a fight of frustration. That was a fight of brutality. Here is a more frustrating kind of fight that resembles more closely the Bird fight.
Even though Johnson's temperament is to be defensive, doesn't he need to try to put a little bit more pressure on Klitschko?
Well, you know, he's still conserving a lot of energy right now. He's coming out with different flurries of jabs, sometimes right hand. There we've seen earlier in the round, he tried a leaping left hook, and this is what he needs to do. He needs to throw those type of punches. Even I haven't seen him throw a good right hand yet, but his jab's working effectively. He needs to overwork it a little bit more and throw that left hook a little bit more.
Well, Johnson's been relaxed, seems pretty confident. Klitschko clearly the busier of the two.
Both fighters starting to find the right hand a little bit more.
Klitschko threw the uppercut with Johnson leaning down, and I think Johnson acknowledged that that was a good punch. That's the end of round number 6 here at the Post Finance Arena in Bern, Switzerland.
And here we see that lunging left hook by Johnson. Good punch. He needs to throw a little bit more punches like that, even the combination punches. Klitschko coming back with his own right. More pushing punches. Not really power shots, but they're pushing.
Guys, too fucking slow for me. Do like we did in the gym, baby. Just let your hands go. All right? All right? Come on, be with it, man. Be with it. You should be done, man.
So as we begin round number 7 with Vitali Klitschko and Kevin Johnson, let's see how Harold Letterman has it scored at the midway point.
Okay, Bob, 6-0, 60-54, Vitali Klitschko. You know, Bob, he just keeps touching him with that left jab, dropping the right hand down on him, and he's doing all the scoring. I mean, Kevin Johnson got to get a lot busier. He had a better 5th round, but Vitali finally threw a nice uppercut, which he hasn't done the entire fight. I don't know why, because Kevin Johnson just ducks down and, you know, he's open for an uppercut without question. But Vitali Klitschko, as you see, takes him on the ropes, touches him with the left jab, then he bangs him with a right hand. He's landed his scoring punches, 6-0, Klitschko.
See, Klitschko's starting to get a little wild here.
Well, the corner of Johnson said, hey, look, you do have to let your hands go a little bit. Klitschko tries to throw that right hand over the top again.
Considering it's a boring whitewash at this point, without much action, it's kind of an interesting fight.
It's an interesting fight because, you know, it's not over. Anything can happen right now. And one thing Kevin Johnson's doing good is blocking Vitali's jab and being able to throw his own jab right after that.
Yeah, the way Klitschko just destroyed Sam Peter and Chris Areola, he hasn't looked vulnerable in a long time, and there's a sense of, even though he's winning every round without much happening and Johnson's not throwing much, there's a sense here of greater vulnerability on Klitschko's part.
Well, the question, does Johnson have another gear? It looks like he's taken this fight to a certain place, but does he have that next gear to ramp it up and try to get out of here with a win? I mean, against limited competition, His latest knockout, and he only has 9, came in the 6th round, and never against this class of opposition.
Well, any boxer that wants to attempt to box any of the Klitschko brothers have to make sure they're in great shape. And most of the guys that box them are only in great shape up to the 5th round. And then after that, where the going gets tough, that's where they really fade out. Now, Kevin Johnson has an opportunity right now in the 7th round to really step it up a little bit more. Now, you can only tell that if he's been doing the training for that.
Klitschko's also been in recently with pressure fighters, shorter pressure fighters who are going to come at him, and he could kind of go into automatic mode and just outbox them. And here he is in more of a chess match.
Well, you know, it's not the type of fight he's used to fighting. He's used to short guys coming after him, and he uses his size and his reach and his movement and just steps around them and pot shots them. But this is a different situation. He has to be more offensive and maybe try and get Kevin Johnson out of here. But, you know, he's running out of ideas. He's basically doing the same thing, moving Kevin Johnson to the ropes, trying to throw that right hand, trying to get in with some shots and not being able to accomplish it. You see where we see Klitschko setting up for a right hand. He throws a real straight punch. I wouldn't say there's a lot of power behind it. He puts a lot of body behind it.
See brother Vladimir to the right, outside the ropes.
Du musst dann rechts weg, okay?
Seconds down, please.
So despite the cut over the right eye and some swelling around the eye, Kevin Johnson has not done enough, at least through the first 7, to take advantage of that.
It does make you wonder, though, watching Kevin Johnson fight here, only 15 amateur fights, what kind of a fighter he would have been had he had a more extensive amateur background.
Yeah, he really didn't start until he was 18 years of age before he even got into it.
It seems that other than the left jab, he has to think about his offense. It's not natural to him.
Lennox, well, let me ask you this. At what point, you're 30 years of age, you're 20-0-1, you're getting the chance of a lifetime. At what point do you unload the saddlebag and just go for it? You might not get another shot like this for a while.
Well, from round 1, it's 4 more rounds to go. Kevin Johnson needs to step it up. This is you're right, a chance of a lifetime. He needs to take advantage of it. Still very poised, taking his time, looking for that opening.
There's a good right hand by Klitschko.
Kevin Johnson licking his lips at that moment, saying the punch didn't really hurt.
Doesn't matter, they're scoring.
I mean, something for Kevin Johnson to even be competitive here in terms of his real ability to win the fight. Something a little freaky is going to have to happen. He's going to have to open up the cut. Klitschko's going to have to hurt his shoulder, as we discussed earlier. Something like that, because Johnson, as we mentioned, is not a good puncher, and he's really already run out of time on the scorecards.
He's not an active puncher either. Forget about not having a lot of power. He's not even busy. And he's going to be well rested on a flight home with a loss.
Can you imagine, no matter how cocky he is, he has to wonder, do I really belong on this level? And I think he's showing that he does belong at the top level. He can kind of stay in there against a top fighter, maybe the top fighter in the world at the moment. But it's one thing to kind of hang in, and it's another thing to really do what you have to do to win the fight.
Klitschko in a better groove in this round. Been able to land some good jabs and some right hands. Good jab from Johnson on the chin of Klitschko.
I've always given Klitschko heck about battering his opponent to death and allowing the referee to come in and stop the fight, or the other person's corner to stop the fight. In this fight, he's not getting that opportunity to really batter anybody because he's not hitting Kevin Johnson as much. So it makes for a difficult fight for him.
End of the 8th. Again, Klitschko busier, more accurate. January 26th, see the return of 24/7, but this time, instead of boxing, it's NASCAR. We'll focus in on 4-time Sprint Cup champion Jimmy Johnson and his teammates as they prepare for the season-opening Daytona 500. And World Championship Boxing returns January 30th. Highly anticipated welterweight unification bout with title holders Shane Mosley and Andre Berto meeting in Las Vegas. Get a look at the banged up eyes of Vitali Klitschko as we get set for the start of round number 9 against Kevin Johnson. Max, you almost get the sense that a couple rounds ago there was an opening for Johnson, and that opening feels, at least to me, like it's closed a little bit.
There is a tide in the affairs of men, Bob. I mean, you have to give Klitschko credit for that. Johnson felt like he was gaining some momentum, like he was going to start coming on, thinking maybe Klitschko would really lose his game plan or start to fall apart. Klitschko is remaining consistent, and that consistency in the face of a frustrating opponent has in fact frustrated Johnson's game plan, I think.
Lennox, take me into the mind of a champion. You're Klitschko. All right, you've had some issues with your eyes here. You've hit this guy. He doesn't seem to want to fight back. You've got to know in your mind that you've got this fight in control on the scorecards. What are you going to do right now if you're Vitali Klitschko? How would you ride out these last 4 rounds?
Well, I would step up the pace because I would want to get rid of Johnson, because the longer he's around, the longer chance I'm taking for him getting in with a lucky punch and hurting my eye. And, you know, basically doing what I've been doing so far, because if it ain't broke, you know, there's nothing to fix. At this point, I would try other punches, you know, maybe some uppercuts, maybe a couple double hooks, but he's, you know, he's okay to do the same thing over and over, which is really just moving Johnson to the ropes, trying to get him to commit so I can get in that right hand and score points. But all he's doing is scoring points. Kevin Johnson needs to be really doing a lot more than him, because it's easier to fight when somebody's fighting back. Kevin Johnson's not doing anything right now.
And that's because Klitschko is a very impressive fighter. He's not as pretty to look at as his brother, whose offense is more classically put together. But
well, his brother's got a better right hand and a better left hook.
A smoother offense all around. He's more awkward looking, Vitali, but he took a 4-year layoff, came back at the age of 37, and beat Sam Peter every round, beat up Juan Carlos Gomez, then beat Chris Arreola every round. And here he's beating a completely different style, another undefeated fighter in Kevin Johnson every round at 38 years old.
Doing a good job. When you're beating a person every round, then there has to be a point where you can take him out and impose your will on him. You know, he's satisfied just scoring points and getting through a fight like that. But in his position, being a heavyweight, you know, everybody wants to see knockouts. So you really have to try for a knockout. And you know, I have to question the fact if he has enough power to even do that.
You know, that said, Lennox, he's won 38 fights in his 40 professional fight career, Klitschko. He stopped 37 of the 38 guys, so usually, eventually, he gets his man.
Well, when you say stop, referee stops or the corner stops,
no,
but I'm talking about knockouts.
No, these are not Mike Tyson or Lennox Lewis style knockouts with the other guy lying flat on the floor usually.
With that said, he's dominating Kevin Johnson through the first 9 rounds. All right, let's take a look at punch zone so far in the fight, and you see that Klitschko has done a very good job. Not a ton of stuff to the body, but just pounding the head of Kevin Johnson. And Johnson, you know, only landing 14 up around the head area, 16 on the chin. But just the volume right there of punches landed compared to Johnson is immeasurable for Klitschko. And despite those cuts on the right eye of Klitschko, it really has not been a factor. Klitschko able to use that right hand. You saw the 86 to the left side of Johnson's head.
And 5 to the right side of Klitschko. And if Johnson would throw a lot more punches, especially to that side, he would have a lot more greater effect.
Johnson seems to be waiting for mistakes, and even when he's there, he doesn't capitalize, but he needs to make something happen.
Let's check in with Harold Letterman through 9.
Okay, Bob, I haven't found the round to give Kevin Johnson 9-0, 90-81, Vitali Klitschko. I mean, he's just taking a fight to Kevin Johnson, bopping him with that left jab and pounding him with the straight right hand. He's doing all the scoring, 9-0, Klitschko.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you got 3 judges from Asbury Park, New Jersey, it'd be hard to find a round to give to Johnson at this point.
I agree.
Well, I'll tell you what, the judge from last week's Martinez-Williams fight might have Kevin Johnson up by 9 or 10 rounds at this point.
Kevin has 6 minutes to go, now 5 minutes. So he needs to really step it up right now and try his best to do something.
Yeah, again, he's demonstrated it to us, I believe, if not to himself here, that yes, he belongs on a real world-class level. He can hold his own. But just waiting for the other guy to fall apart at this level ain't gonna cut it. He has to make something happen. He has a good left jab. He has quick hands. He's not willing to take the risks necessary to win at this level yet.
Klitschko taps him with a right hand to the body. One jab from Johnson, and then cover up.
Kevin Johnson has to stop making this look like a sparring session, where the person that's doing all the work is Vitali Klitschko. He can go home saying, well, you know, I work for my money today.
I guess if the objective was to just try to get to a decision, he's doing a pretty good job.
He and Vladimir, Vitali and Vladimir together formed the 2-headed heavyweight champion of the world. And yet it's Vitali here who's late in the fight, still outworking the challenger. Johnson's the difference is glaring in terms of the level of desire to actually win the fight at this point.
Klitschko shoots a good right hand. Johnson bobs and weaves off the ropes, but doesn't throw any punches. Pretty tough to hurt your opponent if you don't throw your punches.
Or to win a round.
Right hand punctuates the end of round 10 for Vitali Klitschko.
Here's Vitali attempting to throw that right hand, attempting to land it, not really landing. Kevin is Johnson landing the left, getting his left before Vladimir was able to get him with his punches.
Точно так же заканчиваешь. Как ты закончил, так и продолжаешь. Сам джепаешь, раз-два и дальше продолжаешь, раз-два еще.
Seconds out, please.
So So 2 rounds remaining in the fight. Vitali Klitschko defending his heavyweight championship belt against Kevin Johnson. No knockdowns in the fight. Klitschko suffered a cut right eyelid earlier in the bout. He's never really been in any kind of danger. Can Kevin Johnson break out of his profile and actually do something to cause Klitschko pause?
Heading into this fight, Kevin Johnson said of Vitali Klitschko that all the guys he fought, only Lennox Lewis had the skills, stamina, and technique to take advantage of all of Klitschko's mistakes that Johnson claims he sees. And at this point, Johnson's now gone longer in the fight than, say, Chris Arreola did against Klitschko. But what Johnson's missing, that a guy like Arreola has, is the passion to want to mix it up, to try to get to his opponent, to not simply survive, but to win. And that's one of the things that's attracted Arreola a real big following, in spite of the fact that Johnson clearly has better technique and skill.
I mean, this is something you have to practice in the gym. So if you're in the gym sparring against a big guy and you're saying, okay, I'm not trying to get hit by this big guy, but you have to wage some type of offense, practice your offense in there as well, things that you want to do in the fight. If you don't do them in the gym, you got to do them in the ring, or you won't do them in the ring.
We saw guys not quite exactly with the physical profile as you, Lennox, but tall, rangy heavyweights who could punch like, say, Tony Tucker. And the difference between you and a guy like that, other than the fact that you were also just a little bit of better athlete, was your desire to actually impose yourself in these moments in fights, seems to me.
I mean, being in a heavyweight fight, you want to be able to hit your opponent. Put some damage on him, put some hurt on him. You know, Kevin Johnson's just electing to throw his punches after or while, meanwhile, Vitali's throwing his punches.
Lennox, what was it like when you had a guy in front of you that you knew just seemed to be wanting to survive?
Well, you know, the main thing is just keep on doing what I'm doing, try and make his survival not easy for him. Try and take him out. Like Max says, impose my will on him.
Good right hand there by Klitschko.
And so far, as vulnerable as Klitschko seemed at times against an opponent who really wasn't doing much offensively, not that many heavyweights throughout history go one after another through top 10 heavyweights in the division, hardly losing a round, and that's what Klitschko continues to do here.
Johnson tried to counter off the ropes, but again, he invites pressure, but doesn't try to counter. One of the rare times that he opened up. Maybe he should show more of that fight during the round.
Linke locker Armbock von einem kommt direkt so blitzschnell rein. Und dann erwischt ihn auch. Und immer wieder so flankieren. Also wenn er mit seinem Jab kommt, weg, rechts rüber, rechts sofort. Und dann tief stehen. Und nicht hochkommen, tief stehen, dass du die Aufwärtshalten bringen kannst.
You've got to bring in the uppercut.
Keep it clean, Vitali. Keep it clean. Komm mal trinken. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. Oh, let it go.
Vitali Klitschko's wife looking on anxiously.
She's a great promoter too. When I was in Germany, she said, come on, please fight my husband.
But you've been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
And that win against Klitschko to close out your career, Lennox, I think is looking better every day.
So the final round underway. Vitali Klitschko dominating this fight. Johnson just not busy enough. Love to see him take a chance. I don't know what he's talking to Kenny Bayless about. Yeah, Klitschko saying, look at my right hand.
Yeah, he's saying, hey, if you're going to look away, how about look up here and I'll throw a punch.
Max, I think you're right when you said this is turning out to be a rocky fight.
It's all great. I mean, it's fun, and fans are getting a kick out of it, but what does it all mean? He's going to lose.
What it means is the Klitschko brothers have no competition right now. You know, most of the guys that fight him are just in shape to go 5 rounds, or they're not trying to beat them. Not coming to Germany trying to beat them.
Good combination by Klitschko there.
Johnson, it seems, made up his mind around the time that you mentioned, Bob, maybe the 5th or 6th round, that he wanted to go the distance.
Yeah. Looked like there was a window early where he might be able to do something special. Yeah. But just watching Klitschko throwing punches at him. 1 minute to go.
It also shows you Klitschko's take criticism at times for the way they win, and especially Vitali, how he looks doing it, but pressure fighter, volume puncher, boxer, slick boxer, European fighters, American fighters. There's no competition, as Lennox mentioned.
And to Klitschko's credit, you know, he's kept the work rate up. He hasn't fallen into the Kevin Johnson malaise. He's kept his hands moving.
I mean, he can only box the kind of opponents they put in front of him, but, you know, they need to really step up with the opponents. And like Mike said, there's not really too many good heavyweights around right now, especially coming from the American side.
Yeah, I mean, who? Finally, Kevin Johnson lets his hands go. Much too little and much too late. Klitschko getting right in his chest. Oh, now he's going after Vladimir. Bad move, Johnson.
It's the most fight he showed all night.
Well, if Vladimir unloaded with a right hand, we might have had a double Klitschko win.
Wife still looking concerned. It's not easy seeing a loved one in there.
Well, Johnson had part of the recipe correct, how to, you know, avoid those right hands and stay away from danger. He just missed the other part of the equation. And Klitschko with a great work rate throughout the fight. Didn't let Johnson get in his head, just did his deal. It looks like he's on his way to win number 39. Here are the final punch numbers. Vitali Klitschko throws over 1,000 punches. He lands at 29%. He landed 298. Johnson only threw 332. And we check in on the power numbers. More of the same as Klitschko landed at 53%. And Johnson, no way you're going to win a fight on the road against the champ when you throw 54 power punches in the entire fight. Let's get the judges' scorecards to the ring and Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Bern, Switzerland, we go to the scorecards. Omar Mintoun and Fabian Kai Guggenheim scored about 120 to 108. Guido Cavalieri, 119 to 109. All to the winner by unanimous decision. And still, WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Dr. Iron Fist, Vitali Klitschko.
All right, Lennox, so Vitali Klitschko takes care of business against Kevin Johnson. how would you assess his performance against the inexperienced Johnson?
Well, he can only do what's in front of him and box what's in front of him. Kevin Johnson did good today because he didn't get knocked out. He wasn't getting hit too much. But as far as Klitschko is concerned, what he should be trying to do is knock these guys out. He did work hard. He threw a lot of punches in this fight, and that's all we can ask.
Let me ask you something. After seeing that and having beaten him already, does it get you excited about wanting to come back and do it again?
A little bit, I look at this fight and I say, whoa, I know I can land more punches than Kevin Johnson, but then I talk myself out of it and realize, I've been there, done that.
Yeah, you did, and you did it in impressive fashion. All right, let's shift things back over to Max Kellerman. Max, you said at the beginning of the night before the fight about Kevin Johnson and, where he stands as a viable guy against a guy like Klitschko. What's your assessment of Johnson coming out of this against Klitschko?
Well, I don't know if his stock went up. I'd rather watch Chris Arreola fight, but I don't know that Chris Arreola beats Kevin Johnson. He's made me believe he has real raw material to work with there, and it's not impossible to imagine, based on what I saw, that he could take the next step, but he has to discipline himself and fight back more. It's not enough to make your opponent miss. One final quick word about the scoring tonight, Bob. In a year of unfathomably, eye-poppingly bad scores, here we had a fight that was very easy to mess up, and all three judges finally in our last show of the year got it just right. Thank God.
Hey, we've got an early holiday gift from the judges. Well, Juan Diaz comes up short against Paulie Malignaggi. Unanimous decision victory. Victor Ortiz took care of his business against Antonio Diaz. Diaz couldn't answer the bell for the start of the 7th round, and Vitali Klitschko, in a workmanlike effort, comes away with the victory. For Max Kellerman and Lennox Lewis, I'm Bob Papa. Thanks for joining us. And in case you missed any of tonight's broadcast, you can catch it in its entirety at the dates and times listed below. Next on HBO, it's Body of Lies. So for our entire crew, I'm Bob Papa saying so long from Chicago, Illinois. We'd like to leave you now with images from this past year in boxing, with many thanks to the dedicated professionals who have made this possible for all of us.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports.